All right, guys, welcome back, Carolina Preps fans. Got the guy that probably don't need any introduction, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce him anyway. Coach Jeff Craddock, Tarboro High School. Coach, you have become a good friend of mine over the past 20 or so years, and you're always honest with me when you got a good team, and even when you don't. You always shoot me straight. And I thought
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
get you on here to talk some football and see how the Vikings are looking for this upcoming year.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Always enjoyed the friendship. I'm glad you're back in the game full time, and appreciate you having me on your show.
Well, we won't really dive into football, full speed until, July, August, but, I like to keep people excited, talk about the spring. The state association allows us to get into some spring practices and in the last quarter of the school year. So, a lot of schools are out there at least kind of shaking off the cobwebs and getting the kids out there on the field and throwing some footballs around. So kind of just wanted to get your anticipation of this upcoming year and how you feel about the spring, and maybe if you got any young guys that it's probably going to be emerging onto the scene that maybe we're not familiar with.
Well, spring ball is kind of funny. I know a lot of my buddies and a lot of my friends, man, they can't wait to get out there and get going. We don't do anything in the spring as far as going and coaching the game of football or getting the kids on the field. I've been blessed, obviously, for a long time. And when we start football, I guess this year it's, the 30th, I think they're allowing us to start of July. And, we don't try to kill them. We get 16 workouts in for the months of June and July. And then, of course, it becomes every day. And if you're fortunate enough to play for state titles, it's a lot of football from August, September, October, November. This year, almost ran into Christmas because they extended it an extra week, obviously, for the guys out west, that tragedy they had to deal with. So it's just such a long season. I don't want to overkill my kids with football. Now, don't get me wrong, we're lifting really hard, and I will take them out on the field. We will do agility drills and, those type of things, usually a couple times a week, and plyometric work and those things. So we're working really hard behind the scenes. Our system doesn't change. Our kids know our system. I mean, we're going to run our double tight T. We're going to run a 4-4 cover 3, and we're going to do what we do. And so, these kids have been running this system for so long that, when we start our first practice, I mean, we're actually rolling along at a pretty good clip. So we're not doing anything different. So we're just going to do what we do, and obviously try to get better at it throughout the season. So that's our spring. That's how we roll here in Tarboro. And so I got some really good players, obviously, coming back. My skilled kids are just about all back from last year. We've lost some really good players. That's you don't become the best in the state and not have great football players. And so, yeah, we graduated a lot, but I got a really good core coming back. I think 18 juniors maybe coming back, and a lot of them were very important in helping us win last year's state title. And of course, everybody knows Cam McDowell Moore. He's had a great year for us. Had a great state championship game. He's back, and we got Caden Everett. He was one of the guys back there. If you look at skilled kids, our quarterback back, Tyler, he's been phenomenal. So we got some really good pieces. I expect great things out of Jalen McNair Farr. He was a punt returner for me last year. One time he was leading the nation in punt returns. I forget how many touchdowns he returned, but that kid's a really, really good football player, built like a brick. So and he started for me an outside linebacker. So he was out there, but he's a heck of a running back. So I really think this kid going into his senior year is really going to pop if you're looking for a kid that you might not have heard much of, but he runs track. He's just fast as lightning. I think we just maxed out, and he benched 290. Can't remember how much, but pound for pound, he's probably one of my strongest guys on the team, and works hard every day, very dependable, and he's a good kid. So we've got enough to get started, and I'm looking for every year's a challenge, and I'm looking forward to the challenge.
You mentioned running track. Do a lot of your guys run track during the spring?
Yeah, actually, this group, a lot of them do. Most of my skilled kids get out there, and they like to compete a little bit. So, of course, I encourage them. Some of them play baseball, some of them run track. But, I always tell them, man, do it while you can. I like to keep my guys active. I'm the anti guy of, hey, I'm going to play basketball and do it
Yes.
year round, or I'm going to play
Amen.
baseball and do it year round. I don't really think, and I don't know, I could be wrong. I don't think it's good for the body, to be honest with you. I don't think you need to throw a baseball 10 months out of the year. I think it's hurting these kids' arms, and in basketball, everything's travel ball. We all know that, but I would just assume my football players, man, when it's basketball season, I love watching them play basketball. When it's baseball season or track, get out there and do different things, man. And then when it's football season, all right, we're going to get after it and play football. But I think these kids just really, and that's what, my oldest son, Cole, he's graduating. He helped us win the state title last year as well. But he plays 4 sports right now. He golfs and plays baseball, and he's done that his whole career. So I just think it's good. Keep these kids busy, keep off the streets, which I tell them every day. You got to stay off the streets. And they're doing a good job. We've actually, our basketball team tied for the conference championship in the regular season. Our baseball team right now is doing well, and we've got quite a few guys already qualified for regionals on the track team. So it's an athletic group of guys that are really good at a lot of different sports.
How is it at Tarboro year in and year out? And this predates your time there. I mean, this goes way back into even the 60s and the 80s, the Coach Brett days. A school of roughly, I think I'm looking at it, I think you had like 520 kids ADM wise, continues to just put out talent year in, year out. And we haven't even mentioned, the Todd Gurley's of the world, or the Sean Drones, or a lot of the other NFL guys.
Yeah, so it's a heck of a tradition. Obviously, it's predated me, and obviously, it's going to post-date me at some point in time. And so that's one thing when I've actually been here 30 years, so I know a lot of their history. I got to work with Coach Brett. Unfortunately, he passed away. That was a tough time for obviously our Tarboro football family, but what a legacy he left behind. And so I got to work with him. He came back in '96 for a year. So I knew Coach Brett really well. Coach Weinstein, people forget about him a little bit in there. He had a great run as well. And now obviously you can go to Doug Alexander at the beginning of the school, or of our Tarboro High. And then of course you got Coach Brett. And so when you become the head coach of Tarboro High School, there's immense pressure. You don't want to be the coach to drop the ball on this fine program. And our community takes so much pride in it. And that was my biggest concern. I was, decided to do it. I was like, man, we got to knock this thing out of the park. And, I didn't get off to a great start, got off to a pretty rough start. And it was pretty rough for the first couple of years. But, we just have great kids. And, then at least underneath me with our system, it is what it is. And these kids come up. It's funny. I know I'm getting old now. So the middle school guys just did a tour of Tarboro High School last week. And I was just sitting in my office talking with a couple other football players, and the group walked by, and there was like 5 or 6 kids that are going to be cut up here as freshmen. And I heard one of them kind of whisper, he's like, "Oh man, that's Coach Craddock," like I'm somebody special, right? I just started laughing, and I say, "Hey guys, let's come on in here, man. Say hey," or whatever. And so they come in, they were looking around the office. I got all my pictures of 4 players that I've coached. We decorate everything up with past accomplishments. And anyway, so they're just looking around. I got a couple pictures of Taekwon Lewis behind me, and I got a Todd Gurley up there, but it's all over the place. And their biggest concern was like, "Coach, now, please tell us you're going to be coaching when we come up here. We want to play ball for you." And I said, "Well, I can promise you I'm going to be here next year." I said, "Let's just take it one year at a time." I said, "But I can promise you I'll be here." I said, "Chances are I will, guys." I said, "But I said, no matter who's here, you got to keep the tradition going." So obviously I've been blessed with great coaches who just do a tremendous job, that they take as much pride in making us who we are as I do. And, these kids, they just want to be great, and they work hard every day. And then, the mental aspect of it is, when they go out on the football field, they just don't expect to lose. Now it's very, very hard never to lose, obviously. I think we've had 4 undefeated seasons under my tutelage, I think. Don't quote me on that. But, a lot has to go your way for that to happen. And it's just really, really hard to do. But, Havelock came in here and clipped us good last year. But we deserved to lose that game. We didn't play good enough to win it. But, And, like my two biggest phrases, so people understand, when I get asked that question a lot, I'm like, I've been blessed and thankful. We
Yeah.
just a great bunch of kids, but and also I don't, people always, what's the secret? There's got to be a secret. People always talk about, drinking the Tar River water, and that's what you got going over there. And I get it. It's funny, but I'll be honest with you, the Salsas, I mean, we work hard year round, I mean, we're not an overly strong team right now, but like I tell them, well, guys, it's April. We're going to keep this lifting thing going May and June, July and August, September, October, November, December. So let's not worry about where we're at. Let's worry about what we're trying to get to and keep, just get better every single day. That's one of my catchphrases. And I know it's trite, but it's true. We just got to win the day. That's what I tell them every day. I say, guys, we got to win today. And if we win today, then we can win the week. And if we win the week, then we can win the month. If we start winning months, now we're winning seasons. And you have an in season and an off season. So right now we're trying to win the off season. We just got to do it a day at a time.
Wow. How rewarding is it? We could talk about the just incredible career you've had, the state championships, all the wins, the Shrine Bowl, all of that. I mean, we could talk about all of it, but there's also got to be the probably even more rewarding aspect that you've seen, being at Tarboro for 30 years of some incredible young men that have become leaders and fathers and husbands and that have went on to do even greater things than we'll ever see in football.
Yeah, I can just give you a story of that. I mean, that's what we, the pillar number one, I'm not going to get into our culture and all this stuff. But our pillar number one is character. We do the 3 C's, and that's what we stress. We want you guys to be great people. And, Woody Hayes back in the day at Ohio State, his pretty big phrase, you win with good people. And I believe that you surround yourself with great people, whether they be adults, whether they be teenage guys. And we preach, I want you to bust your tail in the weight room. Because I think if I get you to bust your tail in the weight room, you start developing a great work ethic, and that's going to carry you in the classroom because you always represent Tarboro football. It's going to go in the community. Obviously, it's going to go on the practice field. Then you get on the practice field, it's going to go to Friday night. And so you really try to build great relationships with them. Now, trust me, I'm not out here to be their friend. I'm going to treat them fair. And if they need discipline, I have no problem. Matter of fact, I enjoy the discipline aspect of coaching football because I think we're lacking a little bit of that in society. And so, hey, we set high standards and we try to get these young men to follow them. But back in my early days, I just went to a wedding of Michael Graham. And Michael Graham was one of those kids back in 2008 and 9. He was a troubled young man. We didn't see eye to eye. Matter of fact, I gave him the boot one year. He missed Tarboro football, but he ended up, doing what I wanted him to do, and he started turning his light. He was a hard-nosed street kid a little bit, but he ended up coming back, and he actually started for me for 2 years. He played in the 2008 state title game that we lost, and then him and his senior class came back in 2009, and that's when we beat Mountain Heritage for the first title. But I just went to his wedding let's see here, how long has it been now? Just within the past calendar year. And me and him stay in contact and we talk, and it was great to see a lot of those guys again. And a lot of them come back to games. Now they're grown men. I just talked to Taekwon Lewis last night on the phone. Taekwon's 30 years old, he's playing, I don't know, he's on 8th year maybe for the Colts now. And he's got a beautiful 4-year-old daughter. And so, I met him when he was 14, when he was a freshman. He came into my life. And, so yeah, you build these things. And I always just use football as a way to, guys, you can be great in anything you want to be great in. It just depends on what you want to focus on. I tell them that all the time, that, hey, you're, created perfectly by God, and he's got such great things in store for you. And you just have to understand you're dealing with these kids. They are kids, and they're going to do stupid things. I do stupid things, and I'm old enough to know better, and I still don't always make the best decisions all the time. But so we put a lot of emphasis on that. And then, of course, it just kind of transfers to the football field. But definitely emphasize, loving these guys and letting them know that, man, you got a great future, and let's see this thing through.
Wow. Well, I won't keep you much longer, but the state did do the realignment and shifted from the 4 classes to the 8. You guys are still in the 2. How do you feel about the realignment, and what do you think it bodes for your program and maybe some of the schools around you with your conferences?
Yeah, I love the new realignment. It's different. I didn't expect us to be the only 2A school in a 3A conference. We've played all those schools in the past, and we've had some great games with them. Matter of fact, I get made fun of this all the time by my guys, but the last time we lost a conference game, I was such a good coach. I had Todd Gurley in the backfield. I couldn't even win my conference with an NFL running back. Kinston knocked us off the year they played for the state title. And so that's actually the last game that we have lost, 2011 in a conference. And seeing Kinston back, us back together again, that's going to be some fun. And like I said, a lot of those schools, I know their coaches well. They're great guys. I know it's just going to be great. It's going to be better competition. Nothing was wrong with the conference I was in, there have been in or whatever. So I'm not saying anything like that. But I think just consistently from week to week, the competition is going to be better. And, we're going to have to be ready for that challenge. It's just, I think we got Northampton. They were kind enough, Coach Privet, to play us week 5. That's the only 2A school we play until we actually, hopefully we'll make the playoffs. We better, I guess my retirement will come very quickly. But, then we'll start playing 2A again. But all of our non-conference opponents are like 4A and 5A teams. So that's going to be a great, great challenge. And then going into our conference is going to be a challenge. But what I really love about it is most of these schools also, not only are they great programs and ran well, they have JV teams.
Yes.
Coach Babb has done a tremendous job for me, and Coach Hurdle of, trying to find JV games when a lot of the guys in our conference don't have teams, and it makes it hard. But these guys have JV teams, solid programs. And so it's going to be different. It's going to be fun. And, like I said, we're going to have to be ready to play football this year.
All right. Well, Coach, I appreciate your time. You've been more than gracious, and I always love getting on here just to see my old friend, but also talk some ball and hear what's going on in Tarboro. I certainly hope to get out there at some point this season just to see you guys. And I just look forward to what you do. You guys always, like I said, run a first-class program, and the record speaks for itself.
Well, I appreciate that. I get to go leave here now. It's been a big weekend for the Craddocks because my oldest son, Clay Allen, just got married on Saturday. So we went and celebrated that. And then my precious daughter, Kayla Marie, is turning 22 today.
Wow.
So we're going to, and of course we get to celebrate by going and watching Cole play a doubleheader in baseball at the stadium. But that'll be okay. We're a sports-oriented team. But and then I'm hoping my other daughter, Kara, is coming home. I don't know if she is. I want to squeeze her name in there. I got 4 children. They're all getting old on me now. I don't understand if they're getting older, and I'm just young as I've ever been.
I was going to say that means that I'm getting older right there with you, because I've seen a lot of these guys, and certainly give my best to your lovely bride as well, because you guys have always been great.
Yes, sir. Well, listen, I always appreciate the friendship, and hopefully we get a chance to see you and sit down and maybe grab a chicken wing or something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We'll do it. Well, hey, Coach Craddock, again, best of luck in this 2015 or 2025. I'm 10 years in the past, 2025 season, and we'll catch you down the road really soon.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.